Let's go with a classic here. Let's go with some Led Zeppelin instead of that. And we're now live on Facebook here. It's Thursday morning. Ryan Walsh and Sam Michael taking over the morning show for our host, Jim Deedlow. Usually we're in the backdrop doing the production, video, and the audio. And Jim Deedlow had some studying last night. Also went to one of our sponsors, Giovanni's. Thanks to Mike from Munster for texting that one in. Mike, have a great day. Lori as well. And we'll get to some news stories, some hot topics. Tariffs are on the news front. I spoke with some people in the steel industry over the last couple of days, and right now they're liking it what President Trump is proposing, and we'll see if they stick with that. If there's any last minute changes in the small writing, small font that may turn their decision away from that. Sam?
Well, I'll tell you, the steel workers are not going to never dislike it. They're going to always like it because it's going to help create jobs for them. Like I talked about yesterday in the afternoon, the worry is that you create these jobs, but tariffs is always just going to be a fancy word for taxes, okay? And everybody knows that. I'm not saying anything. This is not a genius revelation. But the thing is, and I made the equation with potatoes almost yesterday. So if we import potatoes, and you'd have to look at a list really of what we send to China and whatnot, but the biggest competitor for steel is China. And Trump, this isn't, again, people were surprised by this too, that, oh my gosh, what is he talking about? Tariffs? And it's like this big shocker, and Gary Cohen's resigning over it and all this stuff. And it's like, did anybody watch the campaign? Did anybody watch him talk about? He just kept saying he was going to do this. He kept saying, I'm putting the tariffs on him. They don't want to be fair. China doesn't want to be fair. We're going to tax them. And when they send their stuff over, it's going to be taxed. And that'll put it on a level playing field with our stuff. Because we have to abide by all these rules, and China doesn't want to. So we're going to tax them to make it fair. And that's fine. It's nice in a vacuum. It's a great idea. But the problem is the only thing in this world is not steel. The only thing in this world is not aluminum. So the problem is when you tax those things, China will just say, all right, fine. Well, you send this over to us, and right now, we don't charge you any tariffs to send your products here, and you're making all this money off of, as I said, okay, say we do send potatoes over there, right? We have all these potatoes, Idaho and the Idaho, whatever. It's all famous, okay? So say we send it over to China. Before it cost our farmers $0. All they had to do was pay for the shipping, somehow to get it over there. Everything coming back was profit. Now China decides, well, you're taxing 25% on steel. We're just going to do the same thing on potatoes. So that hurts the potato farmers because they got to find a way to come up with that 25%. And then there's a trickle-down effect on that, too. It's going to hurt potato chip makers in the United States. They might have to lay off, say every potato chip factory has to lay off 50 workers because they can't find that 25%. The only way we're going to find it is if we have 50 people fired from their jobs. And then it might hurt, and I'm getting stupid kind of here, but it might hurt the French fry makers. It could hurt McDonald's. Maybe their French fries have to go up 25 cents. Maybe ketchup loses some of their business. There's this trickling and circling effect of economics that people just say, well, let's just tax these people, and it's no problem. And then all of a sudden you wait a minute. Why is my medium fry 7 cents more? Why is my bag of potato chips from Lay's 75 cents more? And it doesn't have to be potatoes. It can be anything.
And there's 9% of that less in the bag.
Right, exactly. I mean, it can be anything that we send over to China. And then just think about that thing in a vacuum, that one product. And then think about, okay, it branches off here, it branches off there, it's this and that. So the steel it's great, right? It's a good idea to help the steel workers. I like it. I read yesterday there's going to be a job here in the Midwest by St. Louis in Illinois, 500 workers. As soon as Trump signs it, they're going to hire 500 people and open up some of their parts of their plants and stuff like that have been shut down in recent years. But keep in mind, it's good in a vacuum. It might not be good for the entire country as a whole. The president is right in his thinking of trying to help the steel workers. He said he was going to do it. We're going to put the steel workers back to work. We're going to put the miners back to work. He was putting all these people back to work. But you never know where those dominoes are going to fall.
And here's a report out by your favorite news organization, CNN. They have an update percentage for new tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. Share of steel and aluminum from state imports in 2017, and Indiana is 14th overall at 2.93%. And as you just mentioned, outside of St. Louis, Missouri was the leading state that's got a share of steel and aluminum from state imports, 7.36%. And then Louisiana is next at 7.27%, according to the CNN source of Brookings. And you just saw about Missouri that they're going to add about 500 jobs once this goes into the signing. And then Louisiana, they are talking with Royal Dutch Shell, saying that they're going to do another Gulf of Mexico project if it does go through. Wisconsin's up there with the right around Indiana and the top 15, top 20. They're looking to add on some projects with steel and aluminum if this goes into effect.
There were also some companies, though. I think I heard of one who, if you remember, right after Trump got elected, and especially right after he passed his tariff plan, that they were going to remember all these companies that started coming out saying we're going to add 1,000 jobs here, 400 jobs there. One of them, and the name of the company, again, I cannot quite remember it, but one of them now was questioning if this tariff plan passes, if they were going to still do that. So don't be surprised if that happens too, because maybe these companies who were going to add these jobs, again, maybe they send a bunch of stuff overseas, and they think, okay, well, if Trump passes this, China's going to pass this, and it's going to hurt us, and we can't add these jobs. So again, you never quite know when you add money, when you add taxes especially, right? You never know where the effects are going to be on the consumer somewhere down the line. And when I say the consumer, I don't mean the people at the top. I don't mean the people at the bottom who can't, unfortunately, afford a lot of stuff. I mean us in the middle. The folks in the middle class are the consumers, basically, right? The middle class is the folks who are going to buy the everyday products, and that's the people you're trying to target. So I just get nervous. I don't like to hear tariffs. I don't like to hear taxes, but
here's one that, on the flip side, that one industry that is actually a couple of industries, canning, and that's bottling, beer companies, pot companies, any of those that make juices in the cans. I mean, those are aluminum, and those industries are worried, and that's a comment from a Republican governor from the state of Wisconsin saying that it could hurt not only the state and also the country's canning and beer industries, also Campbell Soups and all those industries of canned foods, canned veggies. I got a texter here on the text line if you want to chime in on that, 219-845-1100, or call us on the Carpenter's Local 599 phone line. Here, Sam Michael Ryan Walsh talking tariffs. Here's a texter. Tariffs will make fair trade, not free trade. Some prices will go higher because of fair trade. It's normal. Trump wants fair trade, not free trade. Before getting a response into that one, Sam, just want to remind everybody that it's still slow on the Bishop Fort inbound. Traffic brought to you by Napleton River Oaks Honda. There was an accident at 79th Street on the Dan Ryan this morning, shortly before 6 o'clock, where a car flipped over, was on its side, and the 3 left lanes were closed off. They've reopened the lanes. If anybody's up that way, give us a call at 219-845-1100. But the slowdown, it goes all the way to the Bishop Ford to about 111th Street. So if you have to get somewhere in a hurry this morning, you leave earlier than you would expect because there are delays still 10 to 15 minutes inbound. But getting back to the comment on the text line, Trump wants fair trade, not free trades.
yeah, he said it 100,000 million trillion times, right? In the election cycle, and when he was trying to campaign against Hillary Clinton, especially said it. And I agree. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. But again, all the stuff I just said, I don't want to repeat everything. In a vacuum, it's great, but it could affect other stuff. You hear right there's a perfect example of that because China's able to so cheaply send all that stuff. So these companies are using that cheap aluminum and that cheap steel to make their cans and save $1 here and $1 there, and it all adds up to big-time savings for the companies. So if you're trying to make steel, which it costs us more money to make here, I mean, or to buy, I should say, from our steel mills and stuff like that, because we have to follow different regulations and different environmental protection things that make things more expensive. China just does not do it. They don't follow that stuff, and so they're able to sell it cheaper. The tariffs are an idea to try and even that out, and if it does pass, we'll have to just see if it works.
You said, Michael, I'm Ryan Walsh here, 6:33. Time to see you at Albert's. Let's take a couple phone calls here on the Carpenter's Local 599 phone line here. No Jim Delo today. It was up late studying after a good dinner at Giovanni's over on Ridge Road in Munster. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. How about you?
Pretty good. I'm on my way to a steel mill right now. Work at 7 o'clock.
Well, perfect. We're glad we are glad you called in this morning.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say that you guys are hitting it right on the point. But we could what if this all we want. Realistically, this is just a temporary solution to a long-going problem. We need to now come up with another solution to make it more long-term.
Do you have any suggestions for that?
I think we need to get back to the state level. If the states are implementing something similar and get away from the federal government, then, China might not be looking at us as, oh, the federal government is doing this, but they may look at the states, oh, it's just one state or two states. They're not so worried. But then again, they have to do their homework as to see where their steel is mainly going in the United States in order to be affected by that.
Yeah, and like you said, I think we are talking about mostly the things that are going to be consequences potentially, but you're right. There's a number of things that need to happen, and I talked about the dominoes that might fall as far as consequences, but there's those dominoes that need to fall too as far as potential solutions. So it's a long road, I think, to try and get back to where we were, obviously, as a country in the steel mill producing greatness that we were for so long. Right. It's going to be tough to get back there without a bunch of different solutions that all really go towards solving the problem.
Right. Well, I'm also a candidate for the state senate, and as a steel worker, I like this idea that finally we have something. It's been decades since we've had effective tariffs on U.S. steel, our imported steel coming into this country. So I hope it helps our fellow steel workers and keeps the jobs going in this area. But again, it's a temporary solution to a long-going problem.
Well, we appreciate your feedback here this morning, and good luck in your run for office.
Thank you. I'll be in touch in the future. Have a good one.
Thanks. You too. All right, that's our first call here, talking tariffs, 6:36 on Thursday morning, March 8th of 2018.